my goodness.
Manfred is gonna blame me for not putting up an intro. I know lah.
I know,
Okay, guys.
yeah.
Welcome back to the show.
And I just dropped an F-bomb. You're screwed, man. Your YouTube, this channel is
Oh
screwed.
shit. Oh, okay. And then another word coming from me. Okay. Anyway, hey, keep low profile. First, maybe like first 60 seconds. Don't drop any interesting word yet, so that we won't get banned on YouTube. All right, guys. Welcome back to the Three Marketers show. This is episode 80. Finally, Manfred, remember to show the hand sign and whatnot, right? 80 is a long journey, I must say. And it's a very interesting journey where we, met a lot of interesting people. And today we have Brice. Brice is joining us for the first time. Brice was recommended by our good friend Bob. I think we would definitely look forward to learn from Brice over here, where we will talk about branding and basically how can we actually use branding to do further. But then again, before we dive deep in, right, Brice, I think we probably want to give you a little bit of airtime to introduce yourself. Say hi to your audience, please, to our audience over here.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Good evening or good night to some of you. I'm Brice, and I am a brand specialist. I do branding consulting for different parts of branding. So brand strategy, brand messaging, where we do brand storytelling and all of that, developing all of that. And then, of course, the last one, brand identity design. So that covers, to some people, it covers naming. To some, it doesn't. But I like to do the naming part as well. And that's where I apply a lot of design knowledge into it as well. So design thinking frameworks and all that. We do user testing in my branding frameworks. Yeah.
Well, that sounds very interesting because, to be frank, right, branding is like a very vague topic to a lot of people.
I think he's our first branding guest. Branding guest at all.
So basically, we probably would definitely grill you, Brice. Expect that, But then again, before we go deep in, right, guys, if you guys want to connect with Brice, this is the LinkedIn link that you can go over to connect with Brice on LinkedIn. And if you want to seek help or in terms of branding strategy, whatever with identity design, like what Brice mentioned, all these things, you can actually look out to him. Go over to his LinkedIn profile and connect. Okay, I think we will just roll in with the first question. To a lot of people, what the hell is branding? Like, what is branding? Seriously? Wait. But before we go, Chiwai said new meat. What the? Chiwai, we meat. What the hell, meat? Okay, now you grill. You do whatever. Okay, now you do.
Yeah, Chiwai, we never trade in flesh. We trade in money.
What is branding? So this one is a very good question because the branding actually came. I would say that in the past, historically, there are various different stories you will hear. So as a designer, the very particular or like common story you hear is that those branding on the cow, they used to use that heating iron and then they stamp it on the cow, and then farmers can tell like this cow belongs to who, and you can't steal other people's cows randomly lah. But then when we talk about the more organizational usage of it, the business usage of it, it starts from like marketing, I would say, around like I can't remember clearly, but it's somewhere around 40s to 60s.
Wow.
Where they started to I think it came from positioning, and then that's where branding slowly started to form, because positioning is all about where do you stay in the heads of your users or your customers. Yeah. So that's where the next, I would say, wave or phase of branding sort of like peaked. And now we are sort of entering a new phase where, and I must say that in my point of view, and I'm not sure if everybody feels the same way, I feel that maybe it's Marty Neumeier who is the one that is bringing up this new phase of like branding, where it's sort of evolving and moving out of marketing, going into more of a modern phase of branding. Because in the past, branding used to serve as maybe a framework or a toolkit for marketers to further enhance. So the 4 Ps, probably branding only stick with that 1 P, which is positioning. And then I think in this new wave of branding, we are going to bring up maybe a new P, which is purpose. So Martin Neumeyer talks a lot about purpose. There's a lot of heat and discussion about how valuable is purpose in maybe not so much in marketing, but more in advertising. There's a huge debate about it, and if you see different articles coming out by subject matter experts, advertisers will talk about how purpose don't really matter when it comes to advertising, but I think it doesn't speak the same for branding, because branding, when you look at your purpose, you start to have that one direction for your whole company. So to just share a bit more before I dive deeper into purpose, branding right now, I would say, instead of like marketing, is more external. And in the past, branding would focus on that external aspect. Branding has a internal aspect that most people don't see. So to just share a bit more, we talk about, like, let's say right now, if company A has a lot of sustainability projects, so then employees who want to work on sustainability projects, or probably yes, a lot of people like to say lah, Gen Z and millennials love working with environmentally friendly projects. So then they will look out for companies that are working on a lot of these things. So that's where it affects the internal aspect. HR has to kind of like reach out to new prospects and say, hey, we work on a lot of sustainability projects. Are you interested to join us? Especially we need your skill. So that's where the internal aspect of branding, like one small part of the internal aspect of branding, comes into play. Yeah.
It's basically the modern take of mission statement.
Sort of, but that's where I would say it's a bit different, because purpose is kind of like the higher level, and then supporting purpose would be the mission and the vision statement. Yeah.
Wow, okay.
At least in my framework lah. Yeah, I would say purpose is like this one thing that you probably cannot achieve in your lifetime, and you set that out and you let the whole world know that this is something that we are all achieving. Yeah. And then mission and vision is where you start to ground it a bit more, become a bit more pragmatic, to let your customers and your future employees know that this is what we're going to do to achieve that purpose. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I really love that explanation, because it kind of filled in a lot of my whatever misunderstanding about branding over here. But one thing you pointed out very very well just now is you said branding was a portion or a part of marketing back then. Only until recently it was evolved into a kind of like a very so-called standalone practice that can be it's turned into like a practice and can be quantified as well. Can we? I mean, I think that brings the question that I had. How can we quantify branding in a way?
Yeah, so this one, there's a huge ton of like debate on it, and I would say that because it's evolving and it's very modern, there currently there's been no answer lah. Sadly to say, and I've been asking quite a number of my mentors who are like brand experts as well. Fabian Geyer-Halter is one of them. And even he says that, branding is not here to quantify numbers or satisfy numbers for businesses. But why does it still matter? It's because it provides clarity and direction. So to maybe just share one example,
Please.
I have this one client who's from Malaysia and Australia as well. In the past, he would say he's an accounting firm. And then he would tell all his new leads or maybe new clients, when he's trying to prospect them, he would tell them, oh, we provide accounting services. So the thing is, when you just say accounting services, what do you really mean? And that's yeah.
Also,
Yeah,
everybody will think the same thing.
There's so many things that accounting does. There's like auditing, there's bookkeeping services, there's financial modeling and all of that. So then when he told this to most of his clients back then, before I did branding work with him, all of them started to go with him like, oh, okay, I want bookkeeping services. And then they all applied for bookkeeping services for him, which he then come and tell me, I hate doing bookkeeping services. Well, it's not hate lah. Hate is a very strong. I don't like doing bookkeeping
Yeah.
services, and I wish that all my clients would stop asking me to do bookkeeping services only. Then I say, but you're telling them you do accounting services, and even I personally, first thing I think of is bookkeeping, because I need to get my financial year wrapped up, right?
Yep.
Which is coming up by the way.
Yep.
So after that, I told him, okay, if you are going to want to sell a specific service, you need to know what it is first. So this is where branding comes in. So I asked him, like, what services do you want to have or work on more instead of bookkeeping? So he told me like things like financial modeling, virtual CFO. Then I'm like, oh, okay. Then why aren't you telling people you do these things? Be more specific. Then he say, oh, I'm not sure if people understand. So we then did a user testing. I interviewed a few people. I say, tell me what you think of when you hear accounting services. And then true enough, we got like a few responses saying bookkeeping. I say, okay, tell me more about what you understand about accounting services. So the people I interview is people that is relevant lah. The target audience that he wants to reach out to, the kind of people he want to work with. So it's mainly business owners that have business for 3 to 5 years already. So then these business owners that I've been speaking with, they tell me, oh, I know that some of them do financial modeling, some of them do financial analysis. So they already know this information. So you don't have to say accounting services. If you just say financial modeling, they get it immediately. Yeah. So this is where branding for the moment, there's no quantification, I'll say, but it's where it comes out and brings this like sense of clarity. Like instead of saying we need to sell ourselves as providing accounting services, we say we sell ourselves because we do financial modeling services. Then
So
financial modeling.
Are you niching down? I think go down to a specific.
That's one of the things that branding does, because if we look at the fundamentals of positioning, it's also a sort of like narrowing down into that specialization that you look at. But it's not to say that when you specialize into that one thing, it's the only thing you do. We are trying to tell people that this is the best thing we do, this is the thing we want to work with, but we also offer other services.
Yep.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for the explanation, Brice. I guess, guys, if you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to
We've
type
got
in
a
the
question
comment.
from Bob.
Yeah, we got a question from Bob before I bring it up, so you can actually type your questions in the comment anywhere you are, on Facebook or YouTube, and
LinkedIn.
and LinkedIn as well if you want. I mean, it's already on Andrew's profile over there. And I want to bring up Bob's question over here. Brice, Bob is asking, what are your thoughts on brand audit? But what is a brand audit actually? I mean, please.
Oh yeah, man. Sounds very complicated.
Yeah, it really is. And it was a question I asked my mentor about a year back when I was just starting to dive a lot more deeper into branding. So a brand audit, I would say that why it seems complicated, because mainly I would say it's because right now, as you all started off this whole talk, branding is a bit vague one, right? The word branding and brand elements are a bit vague. So then there are a lot of things. We also talk about like how it's hard to quantify, and auditing is all about checking out the quantifications and then measure it against some sort of value.
Yep.
So far, there is one company that does global brand audit. Let me see if I can get their name. They are the ones that measure the whole like top brands around the world. Let me see. Okay, I can't think of it right now. But they are the ones that do
Question
conduct
to
brand
jump in.
audit.
Is brand audit
Sorry?
more for big corporates, or small one also need brand audit also lah? Small MNC, small SME.
Okay, yeah, very, very good question, because I was just about to dive into it. So, yeah, if you're SME, just forget about brand auditing, unless only unless if you're about to get acquired by a very huge business, then yes, please do a brand audit, because then you get a brand valuation. And then when the larger company that is acquiring you, that's when you need to prove, hey, my brand has a certain amount of asset value. And typically that reaches about like 6 digits and above already.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
Oh,
And
okay.
so going back into what are my thoughts on brand audit, it's mainly, for the larger companies. MNCs do it quite frequent, just to keep their brand value up, to give you all a bit of like dipping your toes into brand auditing and brand value. If I'm not wrong, and I read this in a book like 6 years ago, Coca-Cola's brand value makes up for 60% of their total capital.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow,
So
that's a
that's
lot.
way more than their sales also.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, can you
So
rephrase
yeah.
that? Because 60% of the capital means what? Sorry.
60% of the
Their
valuation
whole
of the company, the market
Value of
capital.
yeah, market
Brand
capital.
itself.
yeah
Yep.
market
So if they
capital.
were to
Sorry.
strip and just sell the Coca-Cola brand,
Mm.
based on whatever valuation Coca-Cola is worth 60%. Take away the
Mm.
distribution, marketing, the manufacturing or whatever it is, just the brand.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So
Take away their sales
I
also.
hijack Bob's question. I'm curious. I was in Australia. Burger King cannot use the word Burger King because Burger King has been taken up by I think another company. So the real Burger King cannot call Burger King in Australia. So they end up using Hungry Jack.
Oh
So
yes.
Yes.
so in branding, what have you had to say? I think, is it a disadvantage or anything to say about that? No, they got no choice.
Yes.
They cannot use Burger King in Australia. I'm not so sure about
Yes.
New
Yes.
Zealand, but Australia cannot.
Yeah. I think New Zealand also, but the thing is, New Zealand don't have much fast food chains also lah. But again, great questions. Especially for this one, I would say it's very important. It's a very important part of branding, which is the brand naming part. So a lot of people think that brand naming, when it's easy to say, when it's easy to understand, people like it. But again, like if it's easy, then probably another person has taken it somewhere else. So if you're aiming to be a global brand, you need to watch out for your brand naming, and you really need to get the guy who's doing your brand naming to really like look through everything around the world, like every country. Has there been a company that's registered? And I think some of the expert brand namers out there, they have a tool to check whether this name has been registered anywhere else. And another thing is
So
also
can I
whether it
go
exists
China
in
and
another
India,
variant.
go and register Grab, register whatever company that is very strong in
I
Southeast
think
Asia?
they've already registered. You're a bit late.
I'm sure they've taken care of it. You're too late, lah. Manfred, go China.
When they go listing or go IPO, all these due diligence will have been covered.
Yeah, confirm sure
Yeah.
already. Right?
Otherwise, it's going to tank the entire listing exercise. It's almost like
Yeah.
intellectual property, isn't it?
Yeah, it
Branding.
is. It is
Yeah,
in a way.
it
It
is, it
involves that. It's part of that. It sounds like it.
Yep.
Wow.
It is. So the brand naming process for the bigger brand naming experts, not unlike myself, once they do the brand naming already, they go one step further and speak to lawyers to ensure that a trademark is in
Absolutely.
process. And then
Absolutely.
yeah, and then
Awesome.
they also try to make sure that, even I think some of them are really strict with their process, to the point that even if you're just planning to do it locally or like regionally, they would say, you know what, just secure your trademark around the world. Yeah, go ahead and do it.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's
Thanks
just
for
like your
that.
domain.
Yeah, it's the first
You
thing.
lock down your domains and now it covers everything else. Okay.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
covers
So start
brand
with naming
audit.
first.
That's also a component of brand audit, isn't it?
Yes, brand
From
naming.
the legal standpoint.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the interesting thing about that one company, once I get the name, I'll send you guys so you can send the audience. I think they'll all be
Awesome.
interested. They actually rate every brand around the world, and they will show you like the top 50 they even show their process in their website, which is very complicated until today. Some things I don't understand because they can evaluate culture as well, which is crazy. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting.
Awesome. Please
So
do send.
those are my thoughts on brand audit.
Thank you so much, Brice, and thanks for the question, Bob. And we have another question from Chiwai. I think,
Very
this
long.
is a very good, long and interesting question. So,
Let's go.
okay, now let me read it out. Chiwai is asking, is it good that a branding exercise gives clarity and sense of direction on the business?
Okay.
Particularly for corporates, some engage 4A's agencies to do this, but for SMEs where budget might be a constraint, how are they going to justify such a spending or even ROI on this? I think that's a very interesting question.
Oh, okay. So this one I would say, of course you go to a 4A agency to do some of this.
So what is 4A agency?
Accredited agencies basically
Something
is
like
a
that.
body.
It's like an association, right?
Association of
Yeah,
agencies.
it's an association. Sorry, my mic dropped. Let me just fix it up.
Oh, you
It's
just
okay,
did a
it's
mic
okay,
drop.
it's okay. Oh,
Brice just
okay.
did a mic drop.
Oscar got Will Smith smack Chris Rock. We got mic drop here.
Yes.
I think it's
So
very
4A
interesting.
agency is like the top
Yeah, it's
tier.
like the 4A is like so-called the top tier in the market lah. But to be frank, I think they have kind of like not really at the kind of like a top positioning anymore for a
It's a
while.
grouping of all the agencies, basically.
Yeah.
all the big players are.
I
So
mean,
sorry about that.
no worries.
Yeah,
No worries. It's interesting.
So
Okay.
to share a bit about 4As, because I was studying advertising a bit back then, but I didn't complete it.
Right.
So 4As, they are kind of like an association, and probably I think they do awards as well. So what they do is they have competitions, and then if I'm not wrong,
Among
advertising
themselves?
agencies also submit.
Or
Yeah, among
everyone?
themselves, among agencies lah, agencies. Yeah. So small or big, they try to fight for like the prizes. And now they have amazing publication content. So if you're into advertising, you can check it out. Some marketing contents as well. So the fact that I mentioned 4A already, usually it means like, if you're a huge business, definitely go to them, a professional that you can afford. And probably you might also want to justify why you're going to do a branding exercise with them. And I must say that at this point, advertising agencies or advertising's idea of branding is different from marketing's idea of branding, and it's different from a brander's idea of branding in this day and age, because of how, like I spoke about how it's evolved and become a bit more modern and different already.
Right.
Yeah. So of course, advertising, their main purpose is, the reach and the view and all of that.
The
So when you
recall
do
and
a
all this.
branding exercise, you can see that it tries to justify those things that they value and quantify. And it's the same thing with marketing. The different kind of values that your measure by will be that lah. So in branding, we don't really measure these things. We measure more of like how much clearer is it that your internal team can understand and communicate it. That's one. And then another one is like, how much do your users, your consumers, remember the things about your brand or understand what your brand is. So some brands right nowadays, they've been going through like mini brand refresh, and they have gone through like sustainability route or ESG stuff. Then they would send survey forms or interviews to their customers to see whether they see the changes lah. And then if it does, then it justifies the branding lah. Yeah. So the ROI question is very similar to the quantification question.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that also. I guess, I mean, eventually I will also ask whether is it really something necessary to engage somebody to do the branding exercise if it's not really kind of ready to take any, like the next step. Like for example, I work with several companies that were SMEs, but they were trying to go, like, let's say, get listed or get acquired, like how Brice puts it, right? There must be a reason why you want to do it for some reason.
Yeah. I was about to ask that. I mean, why you want to do it? What's the main reason of doing it?
Yeah, I guess it's because you want to do something, you want to go to the next step, or you want to kind of like, I mean, usually the ones that I went through was because they wanted to go IPO.
Right.
Oh, okay.
But in my
I would
opinion,
say, if you ask me what's my recommendation, like when should a branding project or exercise start, I would say definitely as early as possible. But if you are low on budget, you're a startup, you're experimenting with something, please don't do a branding exercise. Get your product or your business plans ready first.
That's very
Absolutely,
true.
man.
Those
That's very
are a lot more important.
so
Absolutely.
once your product or services, the business model is up ready, I think
Hmm.
branding is important. As I think Brice, I chat with him before. It's not branding; is a perception. It's a gut feel about your company, and it
Hmm.
has to be carefully crafted. Say example, from Marty, actually, he mentioned this before. I share with you also.
Yeah.
Company create customer, customer create brand, brand create company. At first, when I first heard all this, it took me a while. No. Then I realized I was wrong in the past. I said, oh yeah, 丢嘞. I was
It's
wrong for the longest time. No.
a very Singaporean enlightenment, but
I was
yes,
wrong. No. I was really wrong. No wonder it doesn't work in the past.
yeah.
Because company create the customer. You choose what kind of customers, and when they interact with you, they have a perception of you, the brand. Then you become the brand itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that was powerful. Very zen moment.
Yeah. That's why I subscribe to a lot of Martin Neumeier's content lah.
Right.
Awesome. Thanks for the
Okay.
recommendation. Now, just want to quickly look at the questions. Now we have Mark saying hi. Mark was our guest last week. Hi, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
What's up?
Welcome
Okay, like
Hey.
you know, and then wait, let me go through that. And Chiwai say this is the first time that hey, we have a mic drop. Wow, that's cool.
Well, episode 80, you know.
Right. I mean, that's about the time, right? And
Yes.
Chiwai was saying for Malaysia is Kanche.
Oh.
One of the bigger ones.
Gotta
Okay.
check that out.
Yes.
Yeah, and Bob say 4A is basically big agencies lah.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
Very
Bob,
simply said.
Bob has another question. What are your thoughts on the rebranding of Facebook to Meta? Wow.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay, this one. Oh my god.
This is a heavy one.
This one I think he's asking because I think he saw my presentation on it in the Growth Summit.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
yes.
Yeah. So I think he wants me to share with like a lot more other people.
Please
that's
do.
cool.
Please do.
Yes.
Yeah. So rebrands like this, okay, so every branding project has to have purpose also. So you don't just do a branding project frivolously because people will sort of see through it.
Yep.
So then maybe Facebook or Meta now, they took the idea a bit too literal and they found out there's a purpose they need to do. But their purpose is actually to, cover up all their current scandals lah. Or at least maybe, to be fair, in my perspective, that is what it is. So I feel like the rebrand is a bit haphazard and also a bit too rushed because, as you can see, a lot of there are a number of companies out there with the same logo design. One is even planning to sue them. The name Meta has been used many places and is registered quite a number of places as well. So this is what I would say is rather haphazard and rushed lah. And the new rebrand that they're going to Meta, he is trying to put out a promise, which is great. Brand promises are great, but like there's this woman that I quoted back in my presentation. Her name is Denise Lee Yon. She is a writer for Harvard Business Review and she's also a brander. She said, if you put out a promise that like you haven't even created, then you're not really, going to satisfy people with your brand promise. So she says that, if you're going to put out a brand promise, make sure that it's already ready. Because Mark Zuckerberg, even in his call to tell all his employees about the rebrand, he still said, NFT and our whole metaverse will only be ready possibly 10 years later at least, if like it's even possible lah. Yeah, he told his staff. So then, like, why are you doing the rebrand now? Yeah, and if you can see right now, the Facebook metaverse is pretty much just a fantasy already lah. It's you don't see it going anywhere in this day and age. They're massively hiring a lot of engineers right now, if you can see. So anybody looking for a job at Facebook or
They are
Meta,
hiring a lot of people.
go for it now.
They are hiring a lot of people, a lot of product.
I will also say they actually, they messed up a lot of things. In fact, like Facebook business manager become Meta business manager, Facebook partner become Meta partner. And wait, we are still in Facebook environment. What out of sudden you create a Meta that a lot of people don't even understand. We know that it's a metaverse and an NFT and all that. But I totally agree with Brice. It's something that's gonna happen like 10 years if it happens at all.
Yeah.
But you're doing something, might as well you create a Meta. I mean, I would also link it a little bit with, I would prefer it to be like the alphabet way.
I was about to say that.
You do alphabet, but you doesn't dilute Google. You never force Google advertiser to say now it's alphabet advertiser. Now you're no longer Google advertiser.
Yes.
What the hell?
Each brand has its own space, whereas the holding, so-called the Big Ten is alphabet. Yeah.
We got change lah. Google AdWords become Google Ads lah.
I mean, at least it's still Google that way. It doesn't force you to call it alphabet ad.
I think that one is a corporate exercise. Whereas in Facebook, because in Google's case, they wanted to rope everything under holding and then, allowing each particular brand or so-called the entity to stand on their own two feet so that if they want, they can spin off. So if there's any regulation, control, whatever it is, they can always spin off rather than break up entire Google, which is going to be messy.
One of these days, the US government wake up and say Alphabet is too big already, must break them up.
Then break up. But it's ready, the structure is there to be broken up, you see. So
So I think Jason brought up a very good point. He talks about like how Facebook partners and like Facebook ads has become Meta ads and Meta partners, which is another thing that I want to bring up in branding, because branding is not just organizational. It comes down to your product also. So what's your product branding like?
Absolutely.
And this is where I go into product strategy and product design. Even your naming of your product matters so much, because look at how frustrated Jason was when he was talking about it.
Totally. 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it even though we know the ROI on like the name change is not going to affect people, but we just sit there waking up tomorrow and see Facebook ad or Facebook partners become Meta ad and Meta partners. We get a bit frustrated. It's like, oh my god, why y'all doing this? So another thing is, when you do a rebrand, especially, you need to ease into the new brand, and this one has to be a very carefully structured step-by-step processes. So where do you start from? Of course, you start from internally. Then you slowly go external, but you let people know first before you do it. It's not, you do it already, then okay, by the way, we are doing this.
It's after the fact. I mean, looking at what has happened, it's pretty obvious that, it's a very cold and very haphazard way of doing it. There's no feel. There's no big why they're doing it, and it's not visionary because, like you say, you just want to chop that place because you see that there's a possibility of a metaverse, and I'm going to grab that name first and park myself there. Then whatever happens, So
it's ambitious lah, I must say, but you have to balance the ambition.
It doesn't show the ambition because there's no path. Like SpaceX, that's ambition, right? Or Tesla, that's ambition. They know the path they're going. Everybody knows whether they're going to reach there within 5 years, 3 years, or whatever it is anything. But then it's a path.
Yeah.
Whereas in Meta, it's like it's worse than vague. As far as
it is. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say it would be more justifiable if you right away you take off Facebook and immediately Facebook become Meta, then okay.
Yeah.
But then again, you just cut off halfway. I mean, trust me, most people look at Facebook renamed to Meta, but how am I still looking at Facebook right now on my phone? It is still Facebook, nothing changed. But out of a sudden there is Meta, And to a lot of people, there are a lot of meta coming in, like the meta business partner, like we said. I mean, it's very messy, I would say.
By the way, we are making these comments as users and not as brand specialists because we don't know shit about brand.
We have no clue.
We have to rely on Brice to guide us.
Okay,
But you are making very good comments.
Yeah, but I guess this is really like, okay, Chiwa also have this. Chiwa also say this. You say, Abba, what are you doing? Exactly, right? I guess we all have the same sentiment over here. That's why.
Really, what the heck are you doing?
Seriously. But thanks for the sharing. I think that's very useful. At least for everyone who is looking at rebranding, as in like kind of like doing. I guess like how Brice puts it, you probably want to plan it more properly. You want to start with internal, then you preempt the external, and then you roll out gradually. I think that would definitely help the whole situation a little bit better. But
can I say that the Google exercise to have a parent company for Alphabet actually is execute much more better than this Meta Facebook thing.
I would agree.
With more grace and then more thoughts.
Because Alphabet wasn't front and center. Unlike Meta, where like Jason said, it takes over the existing brand that people know.
It's a holding company only.
Correct.
It doesn't change everything.
Yeah. So that's our take on Meta.
Actually, to share y'all a fun fact that I learned throughout my branding journey. The first name of Google wasn't Google. Do y'all know what it is?
What is it?
I read about this, but I forgot totally. Please.
Okay, so now it's Alphabet, right?
Yes.
Then we have Google before that, and before that it was called back rub.
Back rub?
Yeah, back like rub. Rubbing your back.
Oh, back rub.
Back rub.
Oh, really?
K-R-U-B.
B-A-C-K-R-U-B. That's correct.
Back rub.
Why back rub? What was the story?
Oh, this one I don't really know because there's too many stories out there that it becomes because people make fun of it, ma. Too many stories already. It's hard to see which one's the real one.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah. Okay, now let's go into second question. Okay, now like we are like 40 minutes down. We are still at the first question. That's really how we roll, right? So okay, now we understand. And you gave us some example about some rebranding exercise, and we touch a bit about brand audit and stuff. So can you give us, let's say we are total beginners about branding, we have no clue, and then we probably just started our business, and we want to look at branding as an aspect. How can we, now you already explained to us what is branding, but why is branding important for business?
Okay. So this one, Manfred, I share you the quote already, but I'll just share everyone here. So branding is not what you say it is. It's what other people say it is. So this is why it is important, because right now, if you don't, for example, if you don't do your branding projects or your exercises or manage your brand at all, you don't know what people are saying about your business. And this is where there's that huge disconnect. And you can see it from Facebook and Meta example already. For some reason, Abang Mark thinks that he's doing a very good job. Okay, but here you have
we have supporter. Let me bring this up. Jeffrey was saying, Jeffrey said he's sure that they have something planned. We're just not privy to know their ultimate goal. For sure.
I hope so, man.
I mean, you can plan anything, Jeffrey, if you agree with me. Let me get back to my frustration. You do whatever planning, big plan, giant plan, universe plan, don't interrupt whatever we have at the moment yet before you have anything. That's my take. Anyway, thanks, Jeffrey.
Very well said.
Thanks, Jeffrey. Thanks for chipping in. Right, back to the question. Please do.
Yeah, so if you don't manage it, so firstly is you don't get to understand what people are saying about your business, then that's where you have that disconnect. So the next thing is, are you managing what they are saying also? Like, are you trying to work together with your marketing team, like you guys? Are you trying to work with our advertisers to put out that message that you want people to know about your brand? And then that's only the communication part of it. Are you doing the things that you promise? And we can see all of these examples very clearly in Meta and Facebook. Everything promised was not like aligned together with what is being done. Yeah, it is only being communicated only. So that's where you see very clearly why branding is important for your business and why if you don't work on it, you're gonna have something like that. But of course, I must say that maybe Facebook is not a very good example because of how it's a very huge company, MNC with a whole bunch of people working on things and millions of users using their products also lah.
Yep.
So if you are much smaller, I would say that it's more about if you're trying to scale or if you realize that how come suddenly I got less customers or maybe less leads, then maybe you need to start to think like, oh, what are people talking about my brand? And you can all do a very simple exercise, which is just to go around asking people, have you heard of this brand? And then you just insert your own brand name lah, whatever it is. Or like if you do personal branding, and I'm not a personal branding expert, just ask other people if they've heard of this person.
I see.
Yeah. Ask a friend to help you ask also lah. And then if they do know, then ask like what do they know about this person? And then for example, I get a lot of people like saying, oh, I kind of know Bob, he's that LinkedIn guy, right? Yeah. So that is a sort of branding that Bob has, you know. And Andrew, like I told Manfred also, the email guy, and he was like, oh, okay. So this
And
is
of course,
why branding is
Jason, the Facebook guru.
No. Yeah. Anyway, but I guess that's very important. I guess asking around is really something that people can start looking at. Because to be frank, like I mentioned just now, at the very beginning, to be frank, branding is kind of like something that a lot of people find it not sure what it is, not sure where to start. But I guess Brice gave us a very good direction, as in like it's about how other people
Perceive you
perceive
or
you.
perceive your company.
Yeah, what people talk about
Yeah.
you while you're not around in the room, right?
Yep.
Definitely.
Branding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And I'm not sure about other branders, but particularly for me, since I was from a design background, I do quite a number of testing on like people's perceptions. So it's really not easy because you have to be very careful about the questions you ask to not sort of lead them into a specific answer. You also want to be careful of biases. You don't want to get into confirmation bias and make it a yes or no question. Yeah, so you have to ask quite carefully also.
How do you craft this kind of unbiased question? I always have problem crafting this kind of question.
So,
Because you're a biased person.
I'm a biased. Everyone is biased. But how
We're all biased. We're all biased.
We are all
craft unbiased question?
Yeah. For this one, I must say that firstly, there is a lot of reading on what are the existing biases. So you can see a lot of this from UX resource websites. Yeah. So one of the common biases is, like I mentioned just now, confirmation bias, where you ask them, for example, a question. So do you think Andrew is really the email guy? Then there's like a leading
Yes or no.
question with confirmation bias. You make them say yes or no. It's still the real response that you get is not so real anymore.
I see.
Yeah. So you have to ask something more open-ended. So a simple unbiased question about this would be like, what do you think of Jason Gunn from the Three Marketeers? Yeah. Then the response that you get, then will be more genuine. If people say like, oh, he's a Facebook guru, but then like 10 people say Facebook guru, one person say, oh, he's the LinkedIn expert. Then you know, okay, my branding is not so bad, but interesting that somebody says I'm a LinkedIn expert. Yeah.
Got it.
It's not there yet, lah. There's some leakages in the branding.
Not
Somebody
solid
decided
yet,
to-
lah. In a sense, that's like you're not solid yet, lah. So okay, if we do this kind of like survey, for example, then how many people we should reach? Is there the minimum sample that we have to take into consideration?
So this one, right, I would say it depends on the kind of surveying you're doing. So I mostly do interviews, like in-depth interviews. Each round is like 45 minutes to 1 hour.
Wow.
Where-
Okay, that one cannot do a lot.
Yeah, that one really cannot do a lot. So that one I do like maybe 10 to 20 each time,
Right.
depending on how much my client willing to pay also lah. Because
Right.
I get my client to pay them. I don't pay them at all. Or like
Mm.
not really pay lah. Like
Compensate for their time, lah, I guess.
yes. So usually in the form of vouchers, and
Okay.
it's best if your business has a product, so then you can just compensate with like free trial to the product.
But your client actually go and find the surveyor.
No. I do the one. I do the finding.
They
And I do
sponsor the survey lah.
the,
The client sponsor the survey. But wouldn't that lead to biasness?
not really. Why do you say that? Actually, I'm quite curious.
For example, let's say if you say now Starbucks, okay, let's say Starbucks wants to do a branding and it appoints you, and then you say, okay, we're going to do a survey to understand what people perceive of Starbucks. And then you obviously reach out to the potential respondents and says, okay, if you go through this 45 minutes, I'm going to give you $50 voucher, a Starbucks voucher.
Okay. Yeah. Now I get what you mean. The reward might affect the response.
Wouldn't that?
Yes, it might for some of it, but not exactly all of it. So it depends really. This one there are two school of thought. So some will say we tell them that there's a reward at the start. But the other group will say, oh, we don't tell them that there's a reward, so they really come into this really genuine and want to help. But the problem in that is that you'll get a lot less participants wanting to come.
Absolutely.
So one way to go about this is you tell them that we will compensate you for your time, but you don't tell them what the reward is. So it's like a mystery box lah.
Okay.
Got it.
All right.
One more question. I took HCD before, human-centric design. So one of my trainer actually mentioned this because when we do survey, everybody like to do Google form, 10 questions, mass send out. No. Then the trainer said no, the quality of the results will varies and it often sucks. It doesn't represent the true sentiment of the target audience. So she always emphasized on quality interviews over survey forms because survey form easy send a link, WhatsApp, mass. Because most of the time no budget so they do it this way. So I agree with that. But do you have anything to add in terms of the face-to-face interview where you try to dig out all the dirt from the
Wow, it sounds so serious, my friend. It's a survey or it's not an investigation.
Or integration, oh my god.
I watched too much CSI.
Yeah.
Okay, I must say, so I'm gonna share two things. One is to answer Manfred's question. The next one would be to share tips what you can do if you are low budget and you need to do an interview for your branding, or not interview but survey. So the first one would be I'll answer Manfred's question first. So what can I add on to this whole interview process? I would say why it's long. It's not because I'm asking a lot of questions, but because I'm trying to make the user or the participant feel comfortable, that it is a safe space to talk. So I would say that about maybe 1/3 to half of the time, that is what I will be doing. So I want to hear them, I want to listen to them. They will be the ones that will be sharing a lot more, just like how you guys are asking me questions right now, and I'm the one telling you all a lot more. And you want to make sure that these participants, they are probably like different peoples from around the world. So some can be very shy, some can be completely confused, first time doing all this kind of things. Then especially if you want to get it recorded, you need to spend some time on the disclaimer, and then they might have questions like, oh, if I share with you and then you say you're going to share with your team, will they go and screenshot and then share with their friends, that kind of thing. So you want to make them spend a bit of time making them feel comfortable. Then go into the questions as slow pace as you can, or if not, like what you find it to be normal for that person also lah.
This is different from focus group, right?
Sorry, Andrew, you're saying?
This is different from focus group, right?
It's different from focus group. So I would recommend against focus group only because later one person says something, they will influence the other person. It's like, for example, so what you think of Andrew? Then, oh, he's the email guy. Then somebody will be like, hey, yeah, like here before Andrew, the email guy before. Yeah, I also think he's the email guy. Then another person is like, hey, actually, I thought he was the Facebook guy, but maybe not lah. He's the email guy lah. Then you don't get real responses. Yeah. Okay. Then you don't know whether they really understood your brand or not.
Yeah, or they're just following the herd.
Yeah, sometimes this can happen. So when those who are more opinionated, they will take over the show.
Absolutely.
Then the ones that are a bit more quiet will like maybe get influence here and there lah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that tip on like if you are low budget and you need to do some interviews or surveys on like getting responses, I would say, and this is what I do to get interview respondents also lah. The first survey I send out, also Google form, is to like sieve out who is the target audience. So I'll ask questions like uh and sometimes it's not really relevant, sometimes it is. Are you a male or female? Then ask your date of birth.
Qualifying
Then
question.
yeah, then after this round, then if they pass, then they go to the second survey, which you then start to ask your questions that you need to get answers on. Then this is where, in response to your human-centered design course, you can get a more accurate design answer and response from the target audience. But I still think that interview is a lot better lah. But it is time consuming. So you need to decide as a business owner where do you want to balance. Yeah.
But the interview part actually helps us to uncover the inside, the minor details that is so difficult to find out. That actually can help you to set yourself apart from your competitors. Because a lot of times, like what Steve Jobs has mentioned, because sometimes the customer doesn't even know what they want.
Yeah.
They have a pain point, but they ignore the pain point. And if you can identify the pain point, you can address it, you can set yourself apart, and people can remember you for that. That is so important and so freaking difficult to find.
Yeah. I think you said it right, because primary research or interviews, in this case, or focus groups, they are great for getting out insights. Surveys and all the secondary research, they are good for validation. Yeah. So those are the two big differences. And also, I think what you say is right, Manfred. And to quote Henry Ford, the founder of Ford Cars, he said, if I ask every one of my customers what they want, they will tell me they want faster horses. So you really have to craft your questions properly and ensure that you're getting insight. They want speed, they don't want faster horses. Yeah.
But very difficult to craft questions.
Yeah.
That's why you need help from Brice. So guys, just to bring this up again, if you guys need help in any way about branding, you know who to reach out to. This is where you can find Brice on LinkedIn. Feel free to go and talk to him. I believe he's quite friendly, as you can see over like in the past 54 minutes. Okay, so go over and check him out, and hopefully you can get something
making
done.
him very comfortable so that he can give us all the juice.
So we did our job. Then you can do your stuff over there, right? So okay, now I want to bring up maybe the last question for tonight, okay, which is going into our third question out of 46 questions that Manfred has set up. Okay, so okay, then we will go with this. Like, what's the difference in your opinion, Brice? What's the main difference between branding and marketing?
Wow. Okay, so every time I talk about this topic, there's always going to be a huge debate after this. And especially when now got 3 marketers versus 1
Okay,
brander.
we zip. Let you go. Because why? We put this in the last question so that you guys put in anyway, comment or whatnot. We're going to end this soon anyway. So yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, so branding versus marketing is not so much that and this one I got corrected by people, like it's not really branding versus marketing. Branding and marketing must work hand in hand no matter what. Or I would say that it works best and most effective when it's working together for businesses. Yeah, it is like the ultimate. But so the question actually should be, what is the difference between branding and marketing? Then you will get less heat and debate.
Okay, let's go with that. I think you have a point.
Yeah, let's go with that. Please do.
Yeah. So I would say the very biggest difference between branding and marketing, and from my point of view, is that branding focus a lot more on strategy and marketing focus more on tactic. And I know there's marketing strategy, but the marketing strategy, I feel personally, addresses the tactics of what a business would do. So then maybe you might be thinking, what is the difference between strategy and tactic? These are just the fancy words lah. to what I would say, and I'm oversimplifying and making it very loosely. Strategy is kind of like planning, and the tactic is more of like how do we execute this plan. Yeah. So to me, branding is a lot of planning, strategizing. Marketing is a lot of like execution focus. Yeah.
Mm.
So
So
this is
let's.
what. Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. Please go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say this is what the difference is to me, lah.
Okay, so can I mean, based on my, I don't know, very vague understanding about this thing,
Mm.
you did explain it very well, but let me try to put it into an example. Let's say if Manfred wants to position himself as digital marketing expert, or maybe more specifically, SEO expert.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the strategy. So I mean, that's the goal, right? So
Yeah.
what will be the branding strategy that we will do, and what would be the
Okay.
marketing strategy that could come in place?
Okay, okay. Yep. I think this is a good
I think
one where we
personal
can make.
branding.
Yeah.
Very smart, Jason. Very
Yeah,
smart.
helping people to understand. We need.
Okay, so for Manfred, the branding part will be firstly like we just went through also. Go out there and ask people what do they think of Manfred. Yeah.
Okay.
Do they see him as an SEO expert right now? Do they feel that he's an SEO expert because he has done certain things, or because they just saw it on LinkedIn? These are the different questions we will ask to find out.
Okay.
Then after we get those answers, then we come back to Manfred and say, hey, these are what people are saying about you. Then let's say we do need to work on it. Then we start to like think, okay, do we really call you an SEO expert or specialist? Which word works better if people and then like we again interview, and then we see like, okay, where are they getting this information from? If it's LinkedIn only, do we need to consider like website and all these kind of things?
Mm,
Yeah, so those would be the branding aspect. For the marketing aspect will be like, okay, how do we use LinkedIn to say that he's a SEO specialist? How do we use Google AdWords to say he's a LinkedIn SEO specialist? And this is only after we get the responses. And this is just my process. I believe branding comes first lah. Then we work on marketing. But
Yeah.
I received so many like comments on my post the other time. So in this case, we clarify what Manfred wants to be and what people are saying about him, and whether the things he wants to be is common or easy for people to understand. Yeah.
mm.
So some people in the past, they like to say, I'm a SEO ninja, I'm a SEO dragon. Then
Dragon.
yeah, some people will be like, huh? What do you mean you're a SEO dragon? Then have to explain. And when you have to explain, then like people,
There's a disconnect.
yeah, there's a disconnect again. So what is the right word to use? These
Right.
kind of things we plan during the branding phase. And then how do we get it out there? That is to me what is marketing. Because if you look at, I think Andrew is a very good example of how do we get it out there, the message, which is the email. And then I've been reading your emails and they're great,
Thank you.
very apt. So the email marketing strategies that you present is a lot of like, how do you get yourself out there so that you can get leads also, right? So that is marketing lor, to me lah, at least.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think because and I agree with you that brand should come first, because it's just like, first thing first, if I look at you and even if we introduce you, we will ask you for your name, right? And then what you do. So that's technically your brand. But when that is done, the next thing is you need to amplify that brand, and that's your marketing.
Exactly. I agree with that statement so much.
Okay.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, I think that
Wow,
gives us some
nice.
perspective. At least anyone like Manfred, if you want to become SEO expert, then probably that's the route you can take. And anyone else, I just help you dig something very useful that you can start doing your own branding, even as a personal brand. Okay, hopefully that's useful. But nonetheless, if you need help, you know where to go. I'm just going to put this up again. If you want to connect with Brice on LinkedIn, in fact, you can actually go over to his LinkedIn profile via this link, linkedin.com/in/Brice Tan, in case you are listening to the podcast version of this. Go over to connect with Brice and, just
Especially if you're corporate looking to rebrand or brand your company. Because I think Brice, you don't do personal branding, don't you?
Yeah, I don't do personal branding for people.
Corporate. I think it's more for corporate. And TY say his name is Y. He's a fruit ninja. Awesome. Noted.
It's
Duly
a great
noted.
branding.
Awesome branding. Branding.
Yeah.
All right, Manfred. Thanks, but Brice, please don't go yet. Manfred is gonna do his website of the week. While we are waiting, that Manfred, can you put the link into the chat again because we started the screen just now.
It's in the stream. It's in
On. Just
Now
give me a
because we
minute,
restarted the stream just now because of my
Oh,
connection
no
was
problem.
Okay.
not so good.
Wapa. What the hell? I can't even pronounce it.
You've been using the
This is
something
a
I think
fail.
Chiwa will be interested.
Right.
TY,
But that's identified technology on website. So you want to know what this website is using. But this one very interesting. You see, can you see the screen already?
Yep.
Yes, we are. We can.
Yeah. So the website URL, the technology, the keyword, or email address. Even email address. I haven't tried email address
That's
before.
interesting.
Yeah. So if you've been watching our show, you know which one I always like to put. Let's put greateasternlife.com.
You and your Great Eastern.
I know, right? Are they paying you? Are they sponsoring you or something?
He might be sponsoring them.
Yeah, the other way around, right?
Yeah.
I should put Jason's website.
Yeah, that's right. Or privately, he's probably the single largest shareholder of Great Eastern.
Oh,
Cannot be honest, the Lee family. I don't know. Conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's loading now, okay, but it will take some time. But so just play around with this thing. It's very similar to build with.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
I was about to say that
good.
already.
Yes.
But this is
Remember
free.
that.
This is free. Of
I
course,
mean, up to a certain information, I guess.
Stop sharing,
Okay, please.
Okay. Wapao. Okay, I can't pronounce
Weapalizer,
that.
I think.
Weapalizer. Yeah,
Alright,
weapalizer.
Okay.
Cool. All right. I mean, yeah. Thanks, Manfred. Thanks for just another good website to share with our
Yeah,
audience.
this is a good one.
This is a good one. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and really thank you, Brice, for joining us tonight. Really awesome learning. I guess we're gonna have you back real soon because you only answered 3 out of 46. So we probably have to do another 6 rounds. Then we can complete all the questions.
Sure. Glad to be back.
Yeah, definitely. Let's get in touch. And guys, if you please go over and hit Brice.
Connect with Brice on LinkedIn.
Yeah, on LinkedIn, and that's what we do on every Wednesday night. You have just completed the 80th episode. Now we are going to do this every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Now I look forward to see you next week. Thank you. Good night. Bye bye.
Thank you, Brice.
Thank you.